Hi guys, welcome back to Leadership Podcast with Ratiba. And I think this conversation was long overdue. Is the one I've been waiting for a while. So today I've got an amazing guest that has played a very critical role in my life, and I think probably the show is going to be a lot around reflecting and seeing where we are, even in our leadership journeys, and also forecasting on the future and what we see,
Yeah.
for the future. So, welcome, KG.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, it's definitely long overdue. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No. Maybe a brief intro about yourself to those who don't know you, and a little bit about maybe what you do.
Okay. So my name obviously Kagiso Ramoadi. You can call me KG. So I'm okay with that. We come from the same village. So
Sure.
Rasehopo is where we come from. So just like you, I'm a geologist.
Yeah,
So a BSc geology and chemistry graduate.
yeah.
Um, and then I've been dabbling around in multiple industries, um, beverage sector, uh, cosmetics, water,
Mm.
mining a bit, and then prefer now sales. So just been moving around.
Yeah.
So yeah, currently holding a sales position at one of these multinational companies.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think looking back to where we come from and where we are today, it's a testament of how far life moves,
Yeah.
growth and ambition, where how far it can take you. I think we're having this conversation when we are 1,000 miles away from our
Yeah, it's
home as well.
funny, funny enough. I think I'm not sure if the sound. So
Yeah,
we're actually watching waves crashing right now
yeah.
in Durban, uh, while we're both from Limpopo, where there's not even a coast. So
Mm.
that is crazy, actually. Yeah,
Yeah, sedimentary geology.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, to be yo man, I think it's a testament of how far we have come, how far we've grown, and maybe to touch on geology. That's the reason why I say it's a conversation that I've been waiting to have with you, is because I have one question.
mm-hmm.
Um, because I'm probably where I studied geology because of you,
Yeah,
um, because that's where the inspiration came from, and having a physical person that
mm.
is actually doing it in the same area
Yeah.
was very important, and that's the direction it helped me. Maybe my question is, why did you say yes to coming back and sharing the knowledge and speaking back in the village?
Yeah, I think why did I come back, right? I didn't have people come back for me,
Mm,
and that's why I came back. And I think it was a reactive approach why we came back. I went to vets, got there. There were two of us
mm,
at that time that just recently got into the university as first years. And then we met some people from home that had been at vets. So I think there was less than five of us.
mm,
Um, when you have that number and there was 30,000 students at vets at that particular time,
mm,
it didn't feel right, you know, to
mm.
only have less than five people in a 30,000 pool. It
Sure.
didn't,
Yeah.
yeah, it felt weird. And then the idea was, how do we get this? And when you start looking around, you realize people are having groups of people they went to school with, they're having groups of people they grew up with in the same
Mm,
institutions, and it actually helped. So the
mm.
idea was, why can't we have this for home as well? Why can't I sit here and I see someone from home
Yeah.
doing something else? And then
Mm,
the then it just became that. Start going home, speak to the kids,
mm,
it wasn't even about tutoring. It was about inspiring people and to see past the mountains that were surrounding us.
Mm.
And that's how it happened. And I think when the sitting that I came where you were,
Mm.
there was less than 20 people that
For
day.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, but I still wanted to speak to the group because you never know. And funny enough, I didn't know. And look at it,
Mm.
15 years plus down the road,
Yeah,
both of us are geologists. We've studied the same thing, different institutions. Uh, but it's like I kicked it forward. Now I'm in Durban. I have someone that has been in Durban. They can host.
yeah.
So the idea was that just have familiar faces around you. I think
Mm.
that's why I decided to come back.
Sure. So I think your questioning was around representation, to say I can't go sit there and have lunch with my homeboy and
Yeah,
you're like, hey, how's Cos doing?
can
No,
relate.
yeah, you
Mm.
don't have, and that support and the community
Yeah,
becomes
so
very important in that space.
it was that. And can we have a common language? I think a common language is
Mm,
very important. Uh, can we talk the same things? Can we be ambitious together?
mm,
Can we tackle issues together? Because we're from a village.
yeah.
You can be the most successful person in a village, but if everyone around you
Mm,
doesn't understand your language, it doesn't become impactful.
mm,
So get everyone to understand your language, let it be common. This is what we want to do. And then it becomes easy. So that's why I think I came back for the 6 years that I kept going back, hoping that one day it will resonate. And I think
mm,
I become happy when I get to see people like yourself do it more and continue, because at that time the resources were limited. But
mm.
now you can take it further, you can show kids, and that's basically what it is about, help people. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a saying you always say around, to not seek to be the smartest one, the only smartest
Yeah.
one in the room. Can you maybe
Funny
unpack
you've
that?
quoted that thing so many times,
Yeah.
and I said it a long time ago
Yeah.
that yeah, you've kept it. No, I think it's a favorite saying. I'm not sure if I read it somewhere or if it was a movie at that point, but it's always, for me, it is, if you are in a room and you are the smartest one in that room, you are in
Mm,
the wrong room,
yeah.
because you have to have a room for certain knowledge. You have to be that person that can be teachable. Don't
Mm,
reach the ceiling of being teachable.
yeah.
So allow yourself to have people in the room that are smarter than you, so that you can learn from them, and vice versa, they can learn from you. So
Yeah.
I can't sit here and say I know everything. I come here, then you can expand my knowledge about certain things that I didn't know.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so don't be the smartest one.
Mm,
Don't be cocky and aim to be the smartest one in the room.
mm.
Allow yourself that space to be with multiple smart people in rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the reason why you say I quoted it because maybe the saying stayed with me a lot,
Mm.
even guided how I navigated a lot of things,
Yeah.
because I was always like, you know what, if I'm the only smartest one here, I need to leave this space.
Yes.
And it has been maybe a guiding light for me through that. Also, I think it also brought you to just say, I brought you here to just say thank you
Mm.
for shining the light, for saying yes that time, because you didn't know what you were doing. You're just,
Yeah, just navigating.
navigating that, and it was lighting another light,
Mm.
that have, lit other lights as well. I think last week I was speaking in the leadership with leading with purpose conference, and I mentioned that in hindsight, when you look at, you've got over 5, 6, 7 people that have graduated today,
Yeah.
that have passed through. You can point out and say that one, that one, that one, that one, that one.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that can be a great segue to talk about leadership, because it's like what is then leadership is you seeing those people being successful, and then your proud moment to say, I'm gonna measure my success of leadership through
Those people's
those
successes. Yeah.
people. Or
No,
yeah,
I think, thanks also to you, because then it's the people that take it serious, that it resonate with, that you keep doing it. So, and for you to have those measurables, it helps
yes,
because it shows you doing something right.
yeah,
Like I said, it was less than 20 people, but here we are. The message did hit you. So thank you for listening. And I'm really grateful that even after those years, we can
yeah,
still speak
about it.
about it and then go back. And in terms of leadership, I think, yeah, sometimes you do want to see things that you can measure and say, am I doing, so that it becomes a guideline. Am I actually doing the right thing, or am I wasting time?
Mm,
And also, you can learn from it. Maybe when you look at the first person that you assisted, the approach might have been a bit rough. Then you
yes,
get to the second one, then you polish it. Then when you get to the fifth one,
mm,
it's just now common knowledge. You have a reference point of every single success story, that, okay, when the situation is like this is how then we're going to approach it. So, yeah, it does
mm,
help to have people who can point back and say, wow, we actually did produce that. And yeah,
sure. Yeah, I know. I think so what does leadership to you mean? What does it mean to you? How does it look like? Maybe share experiences on how, what type of leaders have you came across, the
yeah.
different types, and how can we unpack those different approaches of those different people
What does leadership mean to
mean to
me?
you as a, yeah.
Oh, I think what leadership means to me, right? I think I have to go back to my rest days. You know, when you get to res and your orientation week,
Yeah,
those were my. I've had leaders obviously throughout school, but
yes,
where it really hit me, it was at res,
yeah,
because of the public school didn't get exposed to a lot of orientation. So when you get there and you get the boys' hood and
yeah,
everything, it really did stick. And I remember in our res we used to have awards
ceremonies,
ceremonies
yeah.
and all these things, and then for house com, when you're running for leadership, they'll ask you three questions.
Mm,
Who are you? What has been done to you?
sure,
And what are you going to do?
yeah,
And I think for me, leadership stemming from that
yeah,
has always been a remedy to answer those questions. Who am I?
mm,
So I first need to identify, who am I?
yeah,
And then, what has been done to me? What have I went through that has ignited the need
mm,
for me to lead? And through that ignition,
mm,
what am I going to do for
about
you?
it, yeah,
Yeah. So
sure,
for me, leadership, you have to answer those three questions. Who are you as a person? Are you a
mm,
reliable person? Are you a person that have principles? Can you follow through on your principles? Are
mm,
you respectable as a person? Can you respect others?
others,
So that's the who are you basis. How were you brought up? And now what has been done to you is the space that you go into.
mm,
Have you been exposed to that before? Is it a
mm,
challenge that you were prepared for?
yeah,
Are you prematurely entering into something you're not ready for? Or you have prior experience related to it?
to
Have
that,
you started
something,
as a gardener,
mm,
bought a piece of land, then plowed, and then now you are a farmer? And then, so that's what has been done to you, the story behind why you want to lead. I
mm,
think that's very important. You have to have that story.
yeah,
Everyone has a turning point. At this point, something happened and I wanted to lead. Like in politics, you hear people will tell you, I was tired of watching.
on
And
the
I just,
sideline, yeah,
yeah, from the sideline, I just wanted to do. So what has been done to you? You need to answer that question. And then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
This is the promise to the people when you come in. This is how I'm finding it. Where am I going to take it? How am I going to change it? How am I going to intensify it? How am I going to grow it? How are we going to put measures in place to measure it? How am I going to make you relate to my approach of it? So you need to answer those three questions. And if your answer for those three questions wasn't good enough, you were not going to become a house com. And
For sure.
yeah, at
Yeah.
first. So
Crazy enough, I've also been in house for 2 years.
yeah, so
Yeah.
the promise is important, yes, but we
Mm.
need to know, can you relate to us, you know? And so that's what leadership means to me, in that point, to be honest. And I've been exposed to amazing leaders in my lifetime, but I think the most important one would be
Which one stands out that maybe is good, and which one stands out that is like this was a terrible.
yeah, well, there have been
terrible.
terrible experiences and there have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
amazing experiences. But
yeah.
I have to say, funny enough, I've been led 80% of the leaders in my life have been women.
Crazy. Yeah.
And I think the reason I'm pointing that out is because of how there is this huge bias towards
Women leaders.
women leadership. So I've had some of the most amazing leaders as women. And one of the best ones that I've had really taught me a lot. And this was my days at a hygiene and sanitation company for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And this person taught me how to do things, how to be diplomatic, how to
The
approach,
language.
how to speak, how to have the common language, how to stand out for yourself, how you don't do the current job that you are doing, but you do the next job that you're supposed to do. And she created that space for me, and she was a huge sponge to
Yeah.
absorb all the negativity that was coming through, because at that point I'm a baby still learning how to crawl, so I don't need someone to be pushing me.
Yeah.
So when someone will try come at me, she was protective. And over time, she felt I was ready, opened me up to the world, and I was there. And the one quote that always goes back to her, like you with me, it's people are people. The most simplest quote ever.
Yeah.
But that quote is one of the most amazing quotes that I carry. Simplistic as it is, everyone is different.
Sure. Yeah.
So people are people. Learn them. Learn about them. Learn how they do things. Don't approach everyone with the same strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, if someone is uh, requires you to be soft to them, be soft to them, because you don't know what they're going through. And that's what leadership has given me the opportunity to have. I've had the privilege to lead a couple of teams
Which
in
number is the
corporate.
highest that you have led so far?
The highest I've led. I think it always varies from 4, 3. So I'll say 4 people. Um, and it's not an easy thing, but people are people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that quote, "People are people." There's a lot of unpacking there. To like, I know myself. Like I mentioned today that I'm a very agreeable person.
Yeah.
You know, so you're now speaking on personalities
Yes.
of different people, and the different approaches and methods that you have to employ to now deal with these different things.
Yeah.
So where do you think leaders fail with that? Do you think they fail to understand that people are people and read each person differently and be able to have a method to approach, or they use the same method for everyone?
I think it's a very big and good question, right? I think over the years, there's this term agility, agile. It has to be agile. It has to adapt. It has to, and I think that's what leaders of this time need: adaptation. You need to understand each and every person that you are dealing with. You need to be able to adapt according to the head count that you're working with. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 anymore. It's names attached to those people, it's personalities attached to those people, it's emotions attached to those people, it's families attached to those people.
Husbands,
It's husbands, it's wives, it's a parent that didn't sleep the night before and they still push to come to work. You know, how do you approach it? So it's not a lack that I'll say leaders have, it's a gap that can be covered, obviously. And like I said, when you want to take the leadership role, you have to answer the three questions: the promise, the what has been done to you. So don't forget your own story as a leader. Don't forget how it was for you.
How did you come here?
Yeah, how did you come there?
Sure.
Who took a chance for you? Who opened that door for you?
Through.
Yeah, who said it's time now? Because that person was a leader for you and they listened to you and they probably did a good job because you're prospering as a leader. So do the same for the other people.
Yeah.
So that is the first thing I would say that they will need to do. The second thing is you can't be generic in leadership. And that's the most important thing. Don't employ every shoe fits all problems approach.
Sure.
You're not going to solve problems. You're not going to be able to manage the workforce that you have or to lead the pack that you should lead. So everyone is different. And like I said, I would go to places where there'll be 300 people to listen. I'll go to places where there was a Ratiba in a crowd of less than 20. I can't say the same thing to those different crowds. And maybe the reason it even resonated with you is because with the small crowd, the intimacy of it, the closeness of it, you get to feel the realness and the pain and the advice that a person is giving, then it can drive you to then take necessary actions and to come to the agreeable personality.
And also maybe expand on many other personalities.
Because I mean, a person can be agreeable, a person can be for the team. You know, you have a personality where someone struggles to just do things on their own. They can do them just for the team. Then you have winners that just wanna be alone, hold it high, and yes, I'm winning. But these people can kill the team as well. Because if the team is not growing at the same pace, if you don't understand the dynamics of it, some people who are lagging behind might start feeling as if that champion mentality, the winner spirit, is trampling on their learning because they're taking it a step at a time. Someone is taking huge jumps. So they're overpowering the learning spirit of the team. Then the one that wants the team to win but can't do it for themselves, then there's a problem there because yes, the team can win, but can they be held accountable when I isolate them? And I want to talk to them just you for your job. Yes, the team, we are succeeding, but your contribution, is it really that enough? You know? And you don't really want yes men's. And that's the problem with the agreeable personalities that you mentioned, because it can lead to a yes man. And there's a huge writing on quiet quitting right now, where people just quit
and
quietly.
You wonder what
happened.
happened.
And you wonder what happened. And that's a problem that a lot of leaders that are struggling with the adaptation and the agility gets to experience, because you are like, but this person just disengaged one day. What happened? It's because you're not plugged in. to the people that you have. So you need to employ a leadership style for every different situation. So, and how do you do it? The old approach of one-on-ones.
I think I find it that it works
Yeah.
because my other problem for me is I don't have a problem with feedback, right? I think I have a problem with how feedback is given sometimes.
So tone matters too.
Yes, for me, tone matters, and for me, environment matters, right?
Yeah.
For me, you don't walking in front of employees and start holding me accountable
In
for
front
something.
of, yeah.
Because if I can't answer you on something, then everyone
Everyone else can
assumes I
see,
don't do
yeah.
my work.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
understand? So I think for me, I have a problem with that approach where call me on the side, call me for coffee, say, I need you to tell me
Yeah.
what have you done, what have you not done. And I also have a problem with the breaking and building approach.
You Kaspedibaro or Lomao for this.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
but so I have a problem with the breaking because I don't believe you can break and build at the same time
Yeah, yeah.
on that. I rather believe with build than correct, you know, this which then builds up to what you already, what in relationship they always say, please, I need affirmation, affirm
Yeah.
me.
You wanna
Right?
be you wanna be, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
we are dating as well while we're
Yeah, true.
in the job as well, So how do you then affirm me? I feel that I'm doing, but still say, but you are missing 3-4 steps to get to 5.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it, right? And I think the first thing is the planning aspect of everything is important. So let's assume you coming in, we know you are coming in. The first 101 is very important.
Yes.
Because, and it can also be the interview process where we're asking you what type of management style do you want to work with? Because I think that feedback is not an interrogative exchange where I just want you to gush out what comes into your mouth. But as a leader, it's supposed to open my eyes to say, am I capable? Do I have the resources to actually meet this person with how they want to be led or managed in that particular? So the first thing would be the one-on-one, understand, and then you will voice out, I actually want to be, an isolated approach. Sit down with me, show me. So I will assume then, first give me the KPIs, tell me what you expect. Let me go practice, let me go put in the work. I come back, you review. You're not happy with it, talk to me one-on-one. That will be the first thing that you would necessarily touch in the first one-on-one. So let's say it's not done. And then now you're in this situation where it's bothering you because the leadership at that particular point didn't do it or ignored it in those processes, and now the way they are approaching it is not working for you. How then do you go about it? I think this is where the key of making, say, a manager in this position, your manager must work for you as much as you work for your manager. So you have to have conversations with your manager. This is where you test their leadership capability and say, listen, I see this, but just for feedback, just as a review, 4 star out of 5. You're doing everything else good, but the other star that I'm not giving you is because of this bashing that you completely always coming and isolate. Instead of isolating, you always just targeting in a group. And like I said, people are people, so don't go at it in an attacky mood because now you're becoming
The defensive mode switch on as well.
yeah, and you are practicing what you say and you don't like on
Yes.
someone else. So don't let it become a calling out session. Let it become I appreciate everything you are doing. At least that. And that's the other part that I think we tend to ignore, that no, but this person knows this. No. Sometimes people, like you said, they want to be reaffirmed. Tell them, this you are doing good.
It's, yeah, I know it.
And it's a good way for you to build them up for that conversation to say, but when it comes to this,
Yeah.
yeah, no, this
Then
kid,
my heart is open there because
yeah,
you already told me what I do good, which tick tick.
yes,
Then let's address
yeah, there's
the elephant in
this
the
room for improvement. What can I do best? So that's
mm.
how I'll say to deal with it, and the approach of building and breaking at the same time. It's a personality thing, right?
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, and people must be willing to learn and they must be willing to grow. It's
Mm.
and unfortunately we can't put a time frame on other people's growth.
Can measure. You can say
You
after
can't.
5 months
Yeah.
or after
But sometimes what tends to happen, and this happens to a lot of leaders that most people don't know,
Mm.
is that they tend to have blind spots. And it's not that they are bad or they just want to be bad for you. They can't see
They're a
it.
person.
They're a
People are
person,
people.
yes. And that's just their shortcomings.
Mm.
Their shortcoming is that they can see. You
Their blind
think,
spot.
yeah,
Yeah.
for them that has been the exposed way of doing things.
How did they then solve that? Because I don't know. Do because there's concepts around mentorship, there's concepts
Yeah.
around business advisory that comes in. Also, is the business leader counting to someone as well in terms of
Mm-mm.
their blind spot
Yeah.
being read out?
I mean, there's many ways to get your blind spot sorted.
Mm.
The first one is you must be willing to learn. Not that you must know you have blind spot and willing to learn, but you must just be an open to learn person.
Yeah.
Because if you're not open to learning, then you have limited options because you're not going to listen to a mentorship, a business advisor. So if a person starts taking on mentors and business advice, it means
They've
they
identified
have
some.
identified something and they are willing to
Mm.
learn.
Yeah.
And then what then needs to happen is you being led, have the conversation. Maybe you become the opener to that person's blind spot and say, but do you see this?
Mm.
That this is what you have.
Mm.
And maybe that's just what solves it. That now they are aware and they can learn on it.
Mm.
And sometimes maybe it needs coaching. It needs someone that has done it, someone that runs a business maybe bigger than theirs or runs an organization bigger than them that can coach and say, well, at some point, I used to go through that,
Mm.
and this is how I overcome it. Because, like I said, what has been done to you?
Oh yeah.
So then you need to know what is done to you. If you can't identify that, it becomes a problem. So business coaches, mentorships, all those things can be helpful, but you then need to be ready and prepared to learn.
To do the work
Yeah,
yourself.
do the work yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like what you're saying, I'm learning that obviously our experiences shapes the type of leaders we become.
Yeah.
Maybe that will lead to a question that obviously it's in most leadership conversation of whether leaders are born or made. That's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
philosophical
Yeah,
conversation
that's yeah.
to unpack. But what I'm trying to say is how we become as people first is shaped by all our collective experiences from our
Yeah, true.
childhood to be where we are, and sometimes, hence I said when I'm at the job I'm dating, like it's
Yeah,
because a relationship becomes a mirror for you. It
true.
reveals the
You
real
can see,
truth.
yeah.
Even in the workplace now, your real person comes out as to whether are you someone who's willing to learn, are you someone who's able to say sorry, are you someone who's able to do all that. So it doesn't only come out in the love and
Yeah, it's not the
romance.
when the honeymoon phase phases out.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So when those things comes up even in the corporate, how do we then deal with it? Even from our leaders, that their own personal life are carried into
The,
into the workplace. How do you then
I think
shift around?
the
Yeah,
love scenario is a good one.
yeah,
You would know before you love someone, you do work.
yes, for sure.
You can't just wake up and start loving someone.
Mhm.
You have conversations around
Mm.
how you prefer things to be done,
Mm.
and they tell you how they prefer things to be done,
Mm.
and you guys sort of mirror it around to what works,
Mm.
and that's how things are going to be done going forward.
Mm.
So it's the same thing. You need to have the conversations. And the biggest mistake is to assume that then because someone is in leadership, they have it all figured out.
Which is what we do all the time.
Yeah,
Like, they've got
because
all the answers.
yeah, I'm like,
Mm.
what do you call it? Flight mode.
Yeah,
It,
you've got the answers are on with you.
we fly, we cruising.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes someone is figuring it out as you guys are figuring it out as well.
Mm.
And that becomes a very honest conversation to have. If it's a relationship scenario, they need to be in a space of trusting where they can trust you enough that if they are to tell you, I'm just also figuring this out, you're not going to use it as an
Yeah.
attack, but you're going to start understanding where they're coming from and
how they move.
how they move, and you can grow with them in that journey, and it can become the best thing possible.
Mm.
So you need to, and that's why the people are people quote is big for me, because that's what it is. Don't assume for people
Yeah.
where they are already.
Mm.
You know, things happen. It's 24 hours in a day.
Hey.
And we're only talking about maybe 8 hours of that day.
Yeah.
So the 16 hours, what is being done to that person?
Oh. Sure.
So you don't know what has been done to them, and you want to judge them with the 8 hours.
Mm.
It's a bit unfair that you're judging them with 1/3 of their day.
Yeah. Hey. So how do you then maybe going to like maybe a little bit of solutions? How do you then keep the team engaged in because a lot of conversation around leadership is how do you then sell your vision and for people to carry it as if it's their own
Yeah.
and live it and to be able to see what it needs and service that. How do you keep people that maybe you're leading engaged into whatever that you're doing, what you're
How do they buy into your vision?
to your vision, yeah.
It's, for me, on a personal level, I think you need to answer the why.
Mm.
And most people miss this process. They never address the why.
Mm.
Why am I here? Why are we doing this?
Mm.
You know, you need to make people understand what it is that you're trying to do.
Mm.
We can't say we want to go prepare food and you don't tell us the ingredients we need to get. You don't tell us what type of food you want us to eat. You don't tell us what type of setup you want us to have. And then when we pitch up,
with our own setups and
then it's a
ingredients.
problem.
Yeah.
So you need to set clear goals. And this is where the SMART goal setup comes from, the KPIs. And so you need to set key performance indicators. And the I is very important because it says it's an indicator. It should tell you. It doesn't mean that the indicator only goes when it's good. It can tell you when it's bad as well. So you need to be clear with your message. That's how you get everyone engaged. It's easier for me to come and say, the reason I'm here is because I want to address 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And this is what you guys are currently, this is where you are, this is where I want to take you, and this is how we're going to do it. Then someone understands where they are going and how they are getting there. So if you don't answer those questions, people get confused because people now have to freestyle.
Just to find a way
Find your way.
Yeah.
And now it becomes unfair when I'm finding my way to it. You want to judge my way. But you never told me the way. So
ideally tell me the way.
Tell me, you know, that in chemistry there's this path, function, and I think it's path and phase function, where the other one is
Mm.
very sensitive on the road. So it's driven by the how you get there. The other one doesn't care as long as we are there.
Mm.
So that's the life concept of it also, to say, rather show people the path function of it. This is how I want us to do things. This is the process.
Yeah.
This is what we're following. And then come back and talk to people about it. Then they'll be engaged. But don't now become someone that is very sensitive on the path, but give people just the end point.
Ish.
Then now when the freestyling aspect of it happens,
Mm.
then you start having concepts like it's only better when I do it myself.
But you didn't say, you didn't clearly say that's the end
yeah,
goal, freestyle your way there, or
exactly.
this is the way.
Yeah.
Mm.
So be clear.
So how often should you workshop your team? Because this seems like it's a how often should you check in as well in terms of how are we, where we are, how are you finding this? I mean, you've mentioned the interview part where you need to clearly have a conversation even
Yeah.
with the interviewee to say what type of management do you relate with,
Yeah.
and you also be able to say if it's the talent I need, do I have the management to deal with, to work with, or am I willing to be that? How often should you workshop the team?
The often part, right? So where I am, the company I work for has a lot of tools. They're very renowned for their approach in dealing with problems and having a system that works. And as I said, approach each situation differently.
Yeah.
And having a blanketed approach, the cadence of it, can lead to problems because someone can say, I prefer to be checked on every day. Whereas for someone else, that becomes,
Nuisance.
yes. And then now I feel like I'm being watched.
I can't be.
Yeah, I'm being micromanaged. Whereas some people prefer to be micromanaged. It's a leadership style. So then in a group of people, understand
Who prefers?
who you are working with. So it goes back to, you need to know your people.
Yeah.
How do they want to function? So who you are working with, how they want to work, know them. How do they prefer to do things? Understand that. Then the strategy of what you are leading. When are your deadlines? When do you have to have reports and have feedback? Then merge those two together. So you can't do it for the basis of just doing it.
Yeah.
It has to be a strategic approach to say, well, we probably have reviews every month or every quarter. You check what happened this quarter. Was everyone doing their job? Were they good? If everyone is doing their job, then you don't need the workshopping.
Yeah, because it means
It's happening.
they caught the
Yes, and that's the
vision.
situation leadership part of it. That because they're doing good, why must I intervene? And then you can just delegate and you can just work. And you can save a lot of time on meetings and going away.
I must admit, I don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Not a lot of people, but sometimes they need to happen.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's, to answer that question, you need to understand your people completely. And it can be a organization A and organization B should do the same thing. While organization A and B have different people. Your variables are different, then you have to work around a strategy that accommodates everyone.
Yeah.
So you need to know your people. And how do you know your people? Spend time with your people. Rather have more one-on-ones and know them well enough to develop a system that will work for everyone.
For everyone.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
how it works for you.
yeah, sorry. And the other thing is, you can't please everyone. That's the other part.
The
you know.
bottom line is we must make money
Yeah,
as well.
in a sense, it's not a charity case, but also you have people that make sure you make the money. So balance those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you touched on that you in a current season
Mm.
you're practicing what you call situation leadership.
Yeah.
Maybe unpack how that looks like, and maybe some of the tips that whoever is listening and is probably, if you paint a scenario of a case and how you can deal with it,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can take lessons from that.
So situational leadership is more of not blanket every situation. So it goes back to that. Not every problem. If you have a hammer, not every problem should become a nail.
Mm.
So you don't have to bang at everything. Um, it's according to how the person that you are leading behaves. So you need to be so close to them that, okay, when we start, this person is completely new to the situation, doesn't understand most of it. I probably need to hold their hand. I probably need to walk with them through this journey. And then that means it requires you as a leader to be fully involved. And this is where the onboarding aspect of it comes, where a strong onboarding program is always the better,
So
because
that
then,
rigorously tells us
yes,
this
so
is our culture, this is what we do,
exactly,
this is yeah.
what, answer the what, the why, the hows,
Mm.
make the person understand
Mm.
the bigger picture. Make them understand it's not just you waking up every day sending an email. There's other things to it. If you don't do it at this time, this is what happens. If you do it late, make them understand. And after that, they'll move, they'll grow. They'll become a student that can do things, but they still need your help. They'll still come to you and help and ask for help. Now, in that position as a leader, don't be too bothered by the help asking. Offer the help, because you understand where they are in their situation. They know just enough to do the job, but there's still questions they're not maybe sure about. So help them figure it out. Then you're gonna have someone that now knows what to do and barely asks, and they can do the right thing.
You say I need a report on Friday, you get it on Friday.
Yes. Then what do? You need to coach that person. You need to make them feel the reassurance that you was talking about, and for them to understand which role they play in the bigger picture
Of the business.
Yes, just because it's a routine for them.
Now, yeah. So you
It
must
does.
get them to be do a
Yes.
routine,
Yes.
then now elevate to
Yeah.
a different.
Just because it's a routine and it might start being boring, it's working for the business. So you need them to continue that routine.
Yeah.
That's where you wanted. So now you're managing that to tell them that's keep it
the
there.
routine. Yeah.
Don't drop the ball. And you need to be that. And then the final one is you barely there as a leader. This person can autopilot themselves. And they're just performing. And allow them to be that, because then they are very important for you in that situation. So what you tend to happen is you get a person coming in, they don't go through the stages, they get taught just a bit for onboarding, just to know. And then next month, the expectation is for them to be autopiloting.
And that's impossible.
And that's impossible. Then, as a leader, you have missed the plot and the situation. You have misdiagnosed that particular individual. And they're going to walk around sick still.
So don't blindly think they'll pick up the work and do the way you want it because you
From
didn't-
where?
Yeah. Sure.
Because that's why I said you don't want it to become a, if I was the one doing it, it will be the way I want
I
it.
want it to be.
Yes, it will, because you're doing it, but that's a bias as well. Have you invested the resources to make me do it the way you want?
You want it to
Have you put me at a routine level that is acceptable for you to be, yes, that is my level? So you need to be, that's where the situational leadership comes. And it's a very good tool, because then also it's the surrounding, the other people must understand that I'm managing each and every one of you as a situation. So meaning everyone will be managed differently. It's not favoritism. It just means that that person is at a level where
Yeah,
they
they
can
don't need me.
operate
Yeah.
without me coming into it.
Mm.
You know, so yeah.
I think it's a very great, a broad topic. Like
Mm.
you have already, it borderlines in a lot of psychology as well. To
Yes,
say, how do you then understand the human behavior and their psychology, tap into personality, tap into
exactly.
different things. And I think to get the person you want, you have to mold them to be what you want,
Yes,
and that's a process.
that's a process. You can't ignore that process.
Mm.
You can't put two dots and say, I want you to move. No, that line in between
So I
that
think that,
connects
that
the
is that
dots.
way. Maybe the 3 months probation of contracts, and after 3 months we review, come in, or does it even work? The 3 months, maybe.
Yeah, well,
The,
the probation thing, right, is a liability thing, you know,
I see.
because it's more, you're not the right fit for us. We can always say,
Bye. We were on the probation.
yeah, you know, and probably HR people will have a
Yeah, of course.
much better explanation of it. But the probation period is to say, if you have enough resources as a leader, yes, you can be able to bench someone and for them to watch the game from the stand and see how you want to play, see how you want your team to perform. But if you're bringing a player and you want them to hit the ground running, which is what's happening now post COVID,
Yeah.
you want the person to come plug in, already
Remove.
connect. Sometimes you become, though it's a blind spot for you that you think you are assuming that they'll be fine, but they're still struggling, and the probation might not be enough.
So you need to look at it as well.
Yeah, because then you have to have check-ins. You have to know, are you coping? Is everything given to you enough? Do you need more?
Yeah.
What do you need? Do you need to be held? Do you want to go
Yeah.
and be shown
Yeah.
how it's done? Do you want to shadow? You know. So it's not an that's why I said it's not a blanketed approach and I say I'm going to lead everyone the same way. It's a different approach where I need to understand you and we need to talk and I need to be open to hearing,
Your feedback as well.
yeah, my feedback, and my feedback shouldn't fall on deaf ears. You must be willing to listen to the feedback and make changes, positive changes.
Yeah, no, I think we maybe throw the leadership word easily and loosely because maybe
Yeah,
we like it or whatever the case may
I
be,
think
but
to link it
it's
to
deeper, yeah.
with that, are leaders born
Or made,
or
yeah.
made? We, you know, for me it's a very, because then it's a separation. We can be judgy and be like, you were not made,
To be a leader.
yeah, but then who says that?
Yeah.
What is the scale that's gonna say, you know, yes, there are characters that give you the edge, but the other problem that we have is I think there's leadership as a broader sense, but we have management and managers and we have administrators.
Yeah.
And that's a very fine line. Sometimes you have an administrator, a leader that is administrative,
Yes. It's not
is
the
not
other touchy
is
stuff.
not a manager,
Yeah.
is not management driven
Yeah.
leadership. And those are very two different sections. The management aspect of it is someone that can come into a situation already made, maintain it for the good of what it can be.
Or triple it even.
Yes, they can take its they they know how to take care of that particular thing. So that asset that you're investing, a manager will come, they'll take care of it. They will know when there are red flags and they'll point it out and they will avoid them. They will know when we need to make progress and they will drive towards progress. And that's management. Then you have administrators who then deal with Mostly, not that managers don't, but strategy and moving forward and breaking new frontiers, the innovative sector of things. So we need to know our managers and our leaders as well. Are they administrative or are they managers? Because sometimes you are being managed by an administrator who just want to keep getting new things. They want to develop.
Yeah, they don't have time for.
Yeah, they don't have times for touchy, how you feeling? And that's just their call.
Yeah.
That's who they are. They're administrative. That's why when an institution or something falls, they say it's been placed under administration. It will be looked by people that will strategize to get it out of that and leave it to a manager that will manage it, not to get into administrative problems again. So two different people. So you need to then know who you are dealing with in a leadership role.
Sure. And I don't think the one has ever looked at it in that way, because I often wondered why certain CEOs that are brought in, they're engineers, because maybe they have a systematic way of thinking.
Yes.
Or and then a certain corporation needs CAs because they have a certain way of.
So you need what has been done to you. What is your background? Sure. Who are you? Do we need an administrator or do we need
a manager?
Do we want to grow or do we want to sustain? You answer those questions, and that's the thing. And so you now have to look at it and say, are we actually where we are with our leadership? Are we in a growth space?
Or are we
in a sustainable space? So if you then want to be, you have the competitive edge, but you have a manager, it might be a problem for you because we want to sustain.
Yeah.
If you have that personality with an administrator, it might work out because we want to break new frontiers. You can be the star of the show because we want to grow.
Yeah.
So that's the idea of it. And so are leaders born or made? I think it doesn't matter. Everyone can be a leader as long as they learn the fundamentals. So the difference is some people don't have to learn them.
Because they already have certain characters and traits.
Whereas some people have to learn them.
Yeah, from scratch.
From scratch. And they can either fall into the house of a manager or an administrator. There is room for people.
For that.
Yeah.
I think Bonang Mohale says it. His quote says, anyone who feels called upon to lead is a leader.
Yeah.
So anyone who feels...
So anyone is capable of being called.
Yeah. And to do that.
Yeah.
I think I'm enjoying this conversation.
Yeah, I think...
Going to,
I mean, we haven't spoken in a long time. That's the other thing. It's been ages, actually.
And we've grown, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, families, kids.
Oh, man.
You doing big things, you know. And I think that's the other thing to also say, for you, congratulations as well. You know, because the other thing is, we don't take time to reflect on our successes, you know, and that's sometimes a blind spot as well.
Yeah.
We just want to go on to the next thing. But it's okay to look back, reflect. Did I ever think I'll be here? You know, when we were back home and things were not looking up and we were about 700 kilos away from the nearest shore, it never looked like we could just be sitting and watching waves crashing.
Sure. Yeah. It was never even in the picture.
Yeah, it was never even in the picture. And now it's just the norm, you know, it's here. But
you can look at waves in the country, outside the country.
Exactly. So now it's a bigger thing. So take the time, appreciate it, celebrate yourself. And why I'm saying this is because the other thing for leaders is they need to understand themselves first before the world understands them.
Yeah.
You need to understand you first.
So the world doesn't celebrate something that is.
Yeah, you know that, but when you understand yourself, you have a clear vision. Then you can set a plan for the people you lead. You can show them what you want to achieve. You know, you understand exactly what has happened to you and how you overcome it.
Yeah.
But if you don't give yourself time, you miss answering the what have been done to you. And then now your story is fragmented and your leadership style becomes a bit questionable. Whereas you are capable of leading, it's just that you forgot who you are.
Yeah.
So sometimes people need to go back to their roots. The small village boy.
And trace it.
And trace it. And say, why was that person so ambitious? What got them? Because where we are today is the fruit of their hard work.
For sure.
So they are the ones we should celebrate. But what happened to them? Why were they so driven? So once you understand them, you are good.
Yeah. I think I was taken aback when they asked for my bio. They're like, please send us a bio. I'm always taken aback by that. So when someone says, hey, we want to do this, like I'm doing something tomorrow, talking about and how marketing can help in terms of messaging, correcting the messaging for mental health. And that lady said, send me a bio. It always takes me back. It's, okay, which one do you write? Which one you don't write?
Exactly.
You know, what do you add? What you don't add? And I think that's a reflection part you're saying.
Yes, it's yourself. And the bio, if you think about it, it's who you are.
Yes, yes.
So if you have given yourself time, you wouldn't have to spend too much time.
Yeah.
Because you know who you are. For me,
for me,
I always like people always ask, but how do you know? I always say I can go into a job interview anytime. I don't need to go through my CV. I know I wrote the CV. I lived the CV. I know when each part happened and what situation happened to me. And everyone has experiences, and that sometimes we rob ourselves of certain experiences because of society. We don't value them as such big, momentous experiences. But those are amazing experiences. So never rob yourself of that. So your bio should be something you spend a lot of time thinking about. And when you do, that's how we will remember you.
I was actually listening to Jordan Peterson. I listened to his lectures. You know, there's his lectures on YouTube. I've listened to them before, but I've suddenly restarted them from part 1, part 2. So in one of his classes, I think he tells his students to say, the project is to write your biography. You know, write your biography. That's the project we're gonna do for this semester.
Yeah.
You are writing your own biography, and the reason I do this is because I want you to go back.
Yes, go back.
Deep.
Understand you.
And he says, no, don't rush it. Write today, and then it triggers something.
Yeah.
Sit on it tomorrow. And he says, this is the first day of a lecture. Start today so that you're able to write, reflect, you know, meditate, whatever.
And you know now what to put in. Yeah.
And then you know by the end of the semester you have your own biography, and you realize you have went deep into yourself to literally go touch into every.
Exactly, because I think when you elevate, you forget certain things, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you forget the most important things that make you become who you are.
Sure.
I mean, we from a village, you know, and you say that, and it's like, we are from a village. That's you learned English watching TV.
Hey, you taught yourself.
So
my crazy one was my crazy story about English was probably I've said before. I had to, because I love soccer.
Yeah.
I had to buy. There was a bakery next to school, the parking,
Yeah.
So I had to buy laduma there
And then
every Wednesday and read in class. When
exactly.
people are making noise,
There
grade
you
eight,
are.
I'm busy like, oh no, it's soccer interviews,
Yeah.
but I'm
The
picking up.
English, the language.
Yes, I'm picking up the language
Yeah.
there.
We did what is
Mm,
this? Second
mm.
second language English.
Yeah, second additional languages.
Yes. So that's the crazy part. That's your story. That's where it starts. And
My wife is always fascinated. I told myself English.
exactly. And that's the story that you tell. When you look at your kid and you relate to them, they're not gonna have the same story.
For sure. They're already multilingual.
Exactly. They're already multilingual.
Mm,
They're not gonna learn the same way you learn.
yeah,
So then that part is a separating factor for you.
for sure.
It's the foundation to who we are and where we're going. So we shouldn't forget that aspect of it to say, I'm from a village.
Mm.
I've had cows.
I've had cows. Oh,
Yes.
I did them for like 2 years.
Exactly. So those
Yeah.
are the experience. But yeah, I think it's just certain things to think about when
And that's also leadership conversation there.
yes, it is because who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? When we come to
What have you learned?
yes, when you come to such an environment with so many diverse cultures, the inequalities, can you relate? And the fact that you started with that story and now you're living this story shows you that you have moved from one part to another. You can relate to multiple people. If people that didn't grow up in villages, you are living their life now. The people that grew up in villages, you have lived that life. So you are then,
Can relate to two
yes.
stories. Sure.
And that's the part that I think as leaders we tend to forget. And that's the humanity aspect of it. Do you remember if someone is late for an interview by 5 minutes and they say, "Sheesh, my taxi was stuck, it broke down," and you're like, this is unacceptable. Do you remember your taxi story?
Oh,
So
I must never forget.
you mustn't forget because it still happens. Just because you're not there doesn't mean it stopped happening. It still happens, and that's where the who are you concept of a leader is very important. You need to come in, and that's why the whole occupying space and representation, it shouldn't just be for postering. It should be the actual thing that I understand who those people are. I understand the disadvantages that those people have had to face. And look at me, I've seen through that, and here I am. I'm going to extend a hand to them. Someone believed in me. It's only fair that I believe in them too. Because I have first hand experience what has been done to me. So, yeah.
I think, yeah. Maybe we will stop here.
Yes.
We'll probably come back and have another
Yeah,
conversation.
we'll have another one, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to take away from this conversation. There's never forgetting your story, where you come from. There's reflecting, there's who are you, what has been done to you, what are you going to do about it.
Mm.
Those are some of the tools or methods that you can use to assess yourself and,
Yeah.
And see where you are and answer questions of your leadership as well as a
Yes.
person. And we touched on situational leadership. That's another thing to unpack it as well. We can unpack either the psychology of it within that realm. We can scenarios of situations. Really, I think the other important thing that I also took away was never miss an opportunity to interview the person that has come for interview.
Yes.
Because you get to gain the insights into them and
Yeah.
what you're trying to bring into
You're learning. It's data collection. You're collecting
Yeah,
data.
collect data.
Yeah.
I think those are some of the things that we need to implement as leaders. So thank you so much for coming through, having a chat. Yeah, it's been a long overdue one, and once again, thank you for what you've done, even for me. I think you'll probably be part of my story if ever a book comes out.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll be somewhere in there. My kids will know there was a person like this, or there's still a person like this, and thank you for being part of the journey, man, and my story that is still unfolding in
Yeah.
many ways. And yeah, and what are your maybe your parting words?
No, I think my parting words. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for carrying the name, because it's very rare that someone really carries your name. We always speak about your name being spoken in rooms that you're not even in there, and some of the rooms you've said my name in, I probably wouldn't even imagine to be in them, and I really appreciate it, and it means a lot to me, especially because of the vision of what I thought will happen. You've taken it and you've made it bigger than what I ever thought. But again, you have put all that to yourself. I've probably done just the 10%, and you've done the other 90% of it. You've really carried it, and your success speaks for that you've really put in the work. You've really invested in what you do. Uh, I always say, please keep the podcast going,
yeah,
because you are in a space where you are a leader, already, and don't let it seem like you're not. You're already leading in your own space, and keep leading in that particular space, and keep learning and improving, and keep driving for growth. And then my parting words is thank you for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it. Long overdue as it is. I've listened to a couple and I've learned a lot as well. And hopefully this also opens up someone's eyes, uh, and it can invite other people to come to the podcast to share their experiences.
yeah.
For me, I think the journey is still long,
Yes.
multiple roles here and there, and I think I'm still growing as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for telling my story, mate.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, man.
Empowerment Podcast. Inspire, equip, and empower.